Good afternoon, everybody. I hope all of you had a little bit more sleep than I did. Anyway, I'm very happy today to report that we have taken down this morning our deficit clock hanging outside my office. As a matter of fact, it was around 7 in the morning. It began ticking in December, and today we turned it off. Now, instead of worrying every day only about IOUs or flood of red ink, we can start moving California forward once again. The legislators' action to solve our $42 billion deficit was difficult but courageous and just what California needs. This is the perfect medicine for our ailing economy, and it will boost public confidence in California, reassure the financial community, and allow us to resume selling our bonds and rebuild our state. So I want to thank the legislative leaders and the legislators who voted for this budget plan and for all their hard work and for putting the people of California first. And I also want to say thank you to their spouses, because a lot of them spent a lot of nights here and were not home with their families. I know how difficult this was. Our budget crisis required Democrats to compromise on their opposition to spending cuts, and it required Republicans to compromise on their fierce opposition to tax increases. We also had to overcome protests from the powerful special interests that carried much of the weight right here in California and in this capital. Labor leaders threatened to recall Democrats if they vote for any parts of the budget that they didn't like. And Republicans voting for tax increases were pictured with their heads on sticks. And also they were threatened with recalls. In other words, there was tremendous pressure on the legislators from the special interests who care only about one thing, and that is what is best for them, not what is best for the state of California. This is the charged atmosphere that we negotiated in, and I congratulate the legislative leaders for resisting those forces and doing what was right for the state. I was pleased that the Democrats and Republicans alike wanted to use actually my December 31st budget proposal as a framework, as a blueprint for this budget. As I've said many times, that framework is a stool with 4 legs. The first leg is the $14.9 billion in cuts, with most of them coming from the biggest areas in our budget, which is education, health and human services, the judiciary, state workers, and employee compensation. The second leg is the $12.5 billion in revenues. All revenue increases are temporary. This includes new and increased taxes on sales, vehicles, and personal income. In addition to those revenues, we also will get $5 billion from our state lottery. Now, the third leg is an economic stimulus package that improves our business climate and puts people to work. There's various different components to that. Our package will expedite environmental review on transportation projects so that we can start with them very quickly and fill those jobs and put people to work. B, for the first time we will use public-private partnerships to build the roads, prison, medical facilities, and other projects. This will save taxpayers money and get infrastructure built faster, better, and cheaper. We will also use design-build authority to plan and to build state and local transportation projects, which will also save taxpayers money and create endless amount of jobs. And D, we will revise our labor laws to give employers and employees greater flexibility in order to make businesses in California more competitive. And we will focus on creating jobs and boosting our economy by providing incentives to California companies that hire California workers. And F is one of my favorites also. We have incentives for movies and for TV productions so that we can keep them in California. And G, we will put in place a home buyer's tax credit. Now there's the fourth leg, which is the fourth leg of the stool, which is will save billions of dollars by making government more efficient. We will begin to coordinate and consolidate 130 separate state ID programs under the Chief Information Officer. This will save us up to $4 billion over the next 5 years. B, the state's various energy responsibilities that are now spread across numerous agencies and departments will begin to be consolidated in the new cabinet-level California Department of Energy, reducing waste and duplication in the state. And C, We will free up billions of dollars in school funding by reforming categorical funding for education. Now, this way, we can keep more money in the classroom. And I think this is something that goes back to 2003, where I said already then that Sacramento has to stop being the schoolyard bully and tell the locals what to do. Another huge accomplishment from these budget negotiations is true budget reform. Reform that builds on what we have already accomplished. Our strengthening of the rainy day fund will go before the voters, which will stabilize our budget and require us to keep money aside in the good years so we can draw down money in the bad years. This will create a steady income and get rid of those peaks and valleys. Both Republicans and Democrats agreed that this solution will prevent future governors and legislators from facing a crisis of this magnitude once again. Now, that doesn't mean that we will wipe out any crisis. We will always have economic downturns and upturns, but it will definitely solve some of those problems, and it will make it less severe. There are other reforms, by the way, that are contained in this budget that are great wins for the Californian people. We will have the opportunity to hold open primaries. This will go on the ballot, and this, of course, will encourage more moderate candidates. This means that elected officials won't be punished for doing what is right for California rather than what is right for the special interests. And also people will not be punished by compromising instead of getting stuck in the ideological corners. These reforms were possible because we were in a crisis. And as I've always said, that crises also provide opportunities. We seized the opportunity, and despite all of the minefields and the tough choices, we got it done. But let's be clear that our work is not over, because today we will have to start with the campaign to make sure that those various different initiatives will win on the ballot. We achieved great victory for the people of California because the legislators preserved and stayed focused on what was best for the people, not what was best for the special interests. Thank you very much, and now if you have any questions, please feel free.
Governor, what can you tell us about the line item vetoes that you're considering now? Would that include the controller's $1 million furniture purchase?
I have not looked at the final papers of the budget. I'm waiting for that, and then I can. But tomorrow, when I sign the budget, I can give you those answers.
When will you sign the budget?
Tomorrow. Yes.
Governor,
How actively will you be campaigning for these ballot measures? I mean, the 2005 year reform didn't go so well. How heavily are you going to be out there pushing these things?
Well, I'm a very positive person, as you know. I think my optimism has paid off in this one again, because I never gave up, and I made it very clear that we will get this budget done. And so I say the same thing now about the ballot initiative and about the various different propositions. I think that it's very important that we start campaigning now, that we start educating the people and let them know how important their partnership is again, so that they help us and vote yes on those various different propositions, because here we have a good shot to first of all get the $5 billion of revenues from the lottery, and also to have true budget reform, and at the same time to have primary reform, to create open primaries. All of this is really very, very important for the people of California. So we will be holding town hall meetings and traveling up and down the state to let the people know and let the people participate in this discussion.
Governor, beyond the two-thirds vote requirement, there's now two initiatives in circulation, one for the budget and one for taxes. Is it time to get rid of that?
I think that what we have to do is we have to create open primaries. I think that you saw very clearly what happened here in this budget negotiations and what happened on the floor. All of this is because of the partisanship. We got to bring people to the center. We have legislators that are so out to the right and so far out to the left, it's very hard to get them together. We need the redistricting reform, which has passed, and we need now open primaries. We need to change the system itself that creates this kind of a situation where people get tied down and just fight over things and draw the line in the sand. And all of those things are not good for the people of California. We want to create a system where the legislators come in and they work together, not separately. They work together and solve those problems.
But beyond this budget vote mean for state workers as far as furloughs and the planned layoffs? Can you tell us?
Well, I cannot tell you because we have to look at it, whatever gets us the savings. I think that with the furloughs and with the sick leave and the holidays and all of those things, I think we get tremendous savings. We just have to look if we need any further savings.
So the furloughs will stay in place for now, 2 days a month?
There's 1 day a month.
1 day a
Of
month.
furlough, exactly, yes.
Senator, can you give us a little inside face?
Do you think that this will be kind of a point for people in California to make other changes, like she mentioned the 2/3 voting requirement, like when Prop 13 was passed because of a taxpayer revolt. Do you think this will create the kind of a climate for other major fundamental changes in government and politics?
I think that the people are sick and tired of politicians fighting, if it is in Washington or if it is in Sacramento. The politicians and elected officials are sent to their capitals or the city hall, wherever it is, to take care of the job. And I think that the system sometimes is in the way. It's not that the people are bad. It's the system that doesn't allow them to come together. And so this is why I always said that I came here to Sacramento and I was interested in running to become governor because I wanted to come here and to fix the things that are broken. And there's various different things that are broken, and what we're trying to do is systematically fix those things. Very, very difficult to do, may I remind you, as you know. You've all been around. It's very difficult to create change around here. But we are very persistent, and we work very hard, and we are trying to be as inclusive as possible. We try to bring everyone together to create those changes. Now, when it comes to the open primaries, I can tell you, that is something that both parties hate. It's not good for politics. But remember, what is not good for politics is good for the people. That's the bottom line here.
Will you raise money?
Yes.
Will you raise money for those ballot measures?
Oh, absolutely. As you know, I'm always very committed to those ballot measures. And I will go out there and I will, like I said, travel up and down the state. I will raise the money for it. And, of course, with others, because there's Democrats and Republicans that will be working together just like we did on our, infrastructure package when we traveled together up and down the state and we raised money together. This is a joint effort where Democrats and Republicans will go out and try to get some of those measures passed. Yes, one more. Say again.
Will the state reimburse the individual counties for the cost of that election, given that there are counties that don't have any funds to pay for a special election?
I'm absolutely convinced they will do that, yes. We haven't had that conversation, but it makes sense to me that they will get reimbursed because, everyone is struggling and everyone has a lack of money right now, so we have to work together on that. So anyway, there's one more right here.
Can you talk about the behind the scenes? How did you know, when you were recording Senator Cox and Senator Maldonado, how did that go? How did you know one was going to be over the other? Was Cox just not offering something that you could do, or what?
Well, first of all, one shouldn't just limit it to those two because there were other people that we have talked to and there were other people that showed interest. But, we had open discussions and we tried to gauge and see how interested they were and how willing they were to come forward and to do that. And I think with Maldonado it was really an easier situation because he was very passionate about open primaries and very passionate about open primaries for a long time. He and I talked about it. So when he brought it up, I said, well, this happens to be something that I'm very interested in and have been talking about for a long time. And so we started talking more and more to him about that. But, it was very difficult to find the 3 votes in the Assembly and to find the 3 votes in the Senate to vote for increase in revenues. And I've made that clear to you before that for them to do that is a really huge kind of undertaken. I mean, that's not what they believe. We all are against raising taxes, all Republicans. And so for them to go there was very, very difficult because it could mean the end of their career. And so one has to weigh that. So I totally understand it. That's why I'm saying the people are so willing to do something that is good for the state of California, and they do the things that are good for the people. But the system itself is such that you get punished sometimes when you do something that is good for the people. That sometimes you get rewarded when you do something that's good maybe for the special interest, but not for the people. So we have to change that system because we want the politicians here to be free and to really sit down and make decisions that is best for California, rather than always having to worry about, do I lose my job, what happens when I go back to my district. I promised that I would not raise taxes, and now all of a sudden I'm here with this dilemma. So it's really challenging. So we worked, we had patience, we listened to them, we had them down to the office once, twice, 10 times, 20 times, and we talked and we talked and we talked. And that's what you need to do to bring everyone together, and you've got to have a lot of patience, and you've got to be a psychologist, and all of those things at the same time. So, as I always said, I had total confidence that the legislators we have are good legislators, that it was just up to me to motivate them and to bring them together and to facilitate and to negotiate. But I knew that we would get that budget done. I just didn't know when, and I was, of course, very anxious. I always want to get things done the first day. So anyway, so thank you very much for being here today, and I'm very happy that we now have a budget. Thank you.